If you've got a soft spot for stories full of intense feelings, love, and drama so wild it's just this side of absurd, Emily Bronte's Wuthering Heights is one for you. It's a whirlwind romance of love and vengeance more tempestuous than any storm. And in this video, we are going to get you through the entire story in just a few minutes. So let's check it out. But first, let us know in the comments what novel we should cover next. Now, first of all, Wuthering Heights isn't just a straightforward story. It's like a puzzle, told through stories within stories. The main character is a man named Lockwood. In the start of the story, he's just moved into Thrushcross Grange in Yorkshire, looking for some peace and quiet. But what he finds instead is a whole lot of drama from the past. So after Lockwood moves into Thrushcross Grange, he decides to pay a visit to his neighbors at Wuthering Heights. What he finds is a house full of people who aren't exactly throwing a party to welcome him. There's Kathy Linton, who's pretty quiet, an old grump named Joseph, and a young man called Hareton who doesn't talk like he's been to school much. Everyone's looking pretty gloomy and not too happy to see him. Now, Lockwood, stuck there because of the snow, finds an old diary written by Catherine Earnshaws. That night, things get a bit spooky. He dreams about a ghost, Catherine's ghost, trying to get into his room through the window. It scares him so much that he wakes up shouting. The next day, trying to get back home, Lockwood ends up getting so cold that he falls sick and has to stay in bed for a while. And who comes to keep him company with stories? His housekeeper, Ellen Nellie Dean. Nellie knows everything about everyone at Wuthering Heights, and she starts telling Lockwood all about the dramas, the loves, and the troubles of the past. It's like Lockwood's own personal soap opera, and he's just lying there listening to Nellie as she spills all the secrets. Next part of the novel is all about the story that Nellie tells to Lockwood. It's a story woven with love, jealousy, and vengeance, shaping the destiny of its inhabitants. It all starts when Mr. Earnshaw, the head of the Earnshaw family, returns from Liverpool with a young orphan, naming him Heathcliff. Mr. Earnshaw's decision to treat Heathcliff as a favored son doesn't sit well with his biological children, Hindley and Catherine, although Catherine quickly grows fond of Heathcliff, forging a bond that's both deep and complicated. As time marches on, tragedy strikes with the death of Mr. Earnshaw. Now, when Mr. Earnshaw passed away, Hindley was quick to claim his spot as the man of the house. With this new power, he pushed Heathcliff down to the level of a servant, trying to put distance between him and Catherine. But you know how it is with true friends. They find their way back to each other no matter what. Next, another person, Lintons from Thrushcross Grange, enters the picture. Catherine ends up at their doorstep because of an accident, and while she's treated like royalty, Heathcliff is shown the door just like that. This doesn't sit well with anyone, especially Heathcliff. Time goes on, and things get more complicated. Hindley's wife passes away, leaving behind a son, Hareton. Amid all this, Catherine, caught in a whirlwind of emotions and society's expectations, decides to marry Edgar Linton. She confides in Nellie that her heart beats for Heathcliff, but she can't marry him because of his low status. Heathcliff overhears part of this, gets the wrong idea, and disappears into the night, leaving a broken Catherine behind. Fast forward 3 years, and who walks back into the picture? Heathcliff, now a wealthy man with plans for revenge. He sets his sights on Isabella Linton, Edgar's sister, as part of his plan. This move shakes things up, causing Edgar to cut ties with Heathcliff and Catherine to fall into a deep sadness, which only gets worse when she becomes pregnant with Edgar's child. In the meantime, Heathcliff manages to get his hands on Wuthering Heights by taking advantage of Hindley's gambling problem. He even runs off with Isabella, but that relationship is as stormy as you'd expect, given everything that's happened. Now, you would think things couldn't get more intense at Wuthering Heights. Hold on, because there's more drama on the horizon. Imagine finding out the person you can't live without is on their deathbed. That's exactly what happens to Heathcliff when Catherine's time comes. She passes away after giving birth to her daughter, Kathy, leaving Heathcliff in a world of pain. Meanwhile, Isabella, having had enough, escapes down south and later gives birth to Heathcliff's son, Linton. Not long after, Hindley passes away, and just like that, Heathcliff finds himself the master of Wuthering Heights. Fast forward 12 years after Isabella's death, her son Linton ends up with Kathy, Edgar's daughter, all part of Heathcliff's plan to control Thrushcross Grange. Soon, Heathcliff's plot pays off when Cathy and Linton get married, just as Edgar dies. Heathcliff demands they move in with him, tightening his grip on everything and everyone. Heathcliff then shares a chilling secret. The night Catherine died, he couldn't bear the thought of being apart from her, so he dug up her grave. He claims her ghost has been with him ever since. After many years, Linton passes away, and Cathy finds herself stuck at Wuthering Heights, with nowhere else to go. And that was the present time when Nellie was telling the story to Lockwood. As the story swings back to our main man Lockwood, we find him pulled once more to the hauntingly beautiful moors and the storied walls of Wuthering Heights. 8 months have flown by, and curiosity, or perhaps fate, guides his steps back to where it all began. Nellie, now the heart of Wuthering Heights, shares the latest, Cathy's efforts to open a new chapter with Hareton, and the mysterious end of Heathcliff, haunted by the love he couldn't let go. But that's not all. There's talk of ghosts, of love transcending the grave, and of new beginnings. As Lockwood visits the graves of those who lived and loved fiercely, he feels a sense of closure, a whisper of peace that seems to say the turmoil of Wuthering Heights is finally settling. In the end, the story of Wuthering Heights is a deep look into the heart of human emotion, showing us the storms we navigate through love, loss, and the search for forgiveness. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey. See you in the next video. Until then, best wishes.